My name is Isabel Smith. I chose this name myself. Smith is my mother's name. I picked Isabel after going through a whole book of English names. It means God's promise. But I don't believe in God. I just refused to keep the name that man gave me. He was my father, a man who lost everything on Wall Street and jumped to his death. That's all I know. I was 10 at his funeral, standing in the very last row. No one handed me a tissue. I wore a black dress a neighbor bought from a thrift store. It was 2 sizes too big with frayed cuffs. The priest's prayer blew right past my ears like the wind. I didn't take in a single word. Later, I put myself through college on scholarships, talked my way onto Wall Street with my wits, and worked like hell to become a quantum analyst. My model delivered a 37% annual return. My boss called me the money printer. They called me a genius. But geniuses don't live in a basement in Queens. Leaky ceiling, landlord tried fixing it 3 times and failed. Geniuses don't eat sandwiches on the subway for dinner, picking crumbs out of their keyboard with a toothpick and getting back to work. Geniuses don't shake so hard they can barely hold the phone when the hospital calls.
Miss Isabel, your mother needs a liver transplant. The cost is $5 million. Insurance won't cover it.
That voice sounded like it came from miles away, or from deep inside my own body. I stood at the subway exit, wind cutting into my collar, cold as a knife. 5 million. All my savings, my mom's house, my next 10 years of salary, none of it added up. But I couldn't let her die. She was my only family, the woman who raised me alone after my father was gone. She'd grown thin, her hair turned white, her eyes soaken. But every time I visited, she smiled and said, "Isabel, you're too skinny. Eat more." I spent a month crunching numbers. Loan hoss, selling a kidney, marrying a rich guy. I didn't even seriously consider the first 2. The third, I've screened my laboing my face. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time. Then I typed, "The richest bachelors in New York." First result, first name, Sebastian Black. Head of Black Group, 32 years old, worth billions, never linked to any scandal. Not because he was a saint, because he didn't need one. He needed an heir. A condition in the Black family trust. The heir must marry and have a child before 35, or the entire fortune goes to charity. He had 3 years left. I have no idea how he found me. Maybe through a headhunter, maybe my work email. His lawyer showed up at my office on a rainy day. Gray suit, black umbrella, not a single drop on his shoes. He slipped a contract across my desk, gold lettering on the cover like a hardcover book.
Miss Smith, Mr. Black is offering you a 3-year marriage contract. The payout is $5 million.
I stared at him, not answering right way. Not because I hesitated, because I could barely. It was a scam, a joke, a hallucination from being too tired. But the rain outside was real. The words on the contract were real. The lawyer's breathing was real.
During the term, you'll live in his apartment, attend required public events, and never reveal the true nature of this marriage. When the contract ends, you'll receive $5 million and a Manhattan condo.
I picked up the pen and flipped through the contract. Over 300 pages of tense legal jargon. I didn't finish it. I didn't need to. Only one thing mattered: when the money would hit.
Now.
The lawyer slid a signed, stamped check across the desk. I folded it and pressed it to my chest. Thin paper, but burning hot, like a branding iron. The wedding was at City Hall. No flowers, no music, no guests. 2 witnesses, 2 lawyers, 1 priest. I wore a used wedding dress, stained at the neck, yellowed lace. Bought for $35 at a Brooklyn thrift store. I'd once imagined it for my real wedding. Central Park lawn, perfect sunshine, a violinist playing. Now it was being used. But no sun, no lawn, no violin. Sebastian stood across from me in a black suit. He looked better than his photos, or the photos were just bad. His eyes were dark gray, like a frozen lake in winter. Thin lips, pressed tight, no expression at all. His hair was perfectly combed, not a strand out of place. Just like him, precise, restrained, flawless.
Do you take Isabel to be your lawfully wedded wife?
I do.
His voice was flat, like he was reading a contract.
Isabel, do you take Sebastian to be your lawfully wedded husband?
I looked at the contract in the lawyer's hand. The $5 million was already in the hospital account. My mom's surgery was tomorrow morning. I do.
So, place the ring on her finger.
When we exchanged rings, his fingers were slender. The ring was a little tight. I had to push hard to get it on. He placed the ring on my finger gently. His fin tip brushed my hand, cold as glass. I stared at the ring, a plain platinum band, no design, no engraving, like a washer.
You may kiss the bride.
He hesitated for a few seconds. I saw his Adam's knuckle bomb. Then he leaned down and kissed my forehead. Not my lips, my forehead. Light as snowflakes landing on skin, barely there at all. After the wedding, he got into his black Maybach. I got into a taxi.
Ma'am, where to?
The hospital. My mother's in the ICU. We drove over the Manhattan Bridge. The river below was gray and foggy. I looked down at the ring on my finger, twisted. It was a little loose. Mom's surgery was a success. When she opened her eyes in the recovery room, night had fallen. Only one bedside lamp was on, its warm glow turning her face into an old photograph. I held her hand. It was thin, bony, but warm.
Isabel, where did you get the money? Who did you marry?
Someone good. She didn't push. She never asked about things I didn't want to talk about. That night, I sat on a bench in the hospital corridor all night. It was quiet. A nurse rolled a medicine cart past now and then, its wheels making a soft sound on the floor. I stared at the fluorescent light on the ceiling. One bulb was flickering, and it didn't burn out for a long time. My phone lit up from a text from an unknown number. It was his lawyer. Mr. Black asks me to inform you that you must move into his apartment tonight. The media may take photos, so you need to live together. Below is the address and the digital lock code. The apartment was in the tallest residential building in Manhattan, the top floor. The elevator required fingerprint recognition, and mine was already in the system. When the doors opened, I froze. The entrance was dim, only one wall lamp on. The living room was huge. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the entire Manhattan skyline, Empire State Building, World Trade Center, Central Park greenery, all under our feet. The lights outside looked like an upside-down starry sky, endless and dense. But the decor was minimalist. Black, white, gray, no fourth color. No paintings, no photos, no trace of a human being on the walls. Nothing on the coffee table, not even a magazine. The kitchen counter was bare. No spices, no bowls. Like no one had ever cooked there. It wasn't a home. It was a showroom. A model apartment waiting to be auctioned. He was away on business. A short-haired woman greeted me, his assistant, in a professional suit, with a face as cold as his. She showed me around the house, opening one door after another with one sentence each time.
This is the living room. This is the dining room. This is the study.
This is your room, the guest room, next to the master bedroom. The sheets were gray, the pillows gray, without a single wrinkle. A few women's clothes in my size hung in the closet, tags still on. He didn't buy them, his assistant did. He wouldn't waste time on things like that. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, blank. No cracks, no lines, nothing. No sound from next door, no footsteps. He wasn't even home. This $100 million apartment was as quiet as a tomb. This $100 million apartment was as quiet as a tomb. I tossed and turned, replaying one image in my head. Mom looking back at me as they wheeled her into the operating room. She didn't speak, but her lips moved. Later, I guessed she was saying thank you. The next morning, there was a cup of coffee, a sandwich, and a note on the dining table. Breakfast. I have a dinner event tonight. Won't be home for dinner. No signature, no greeting. I picked up the coffee. It was cold. We barely spoke those days. We could count our words on one hand. Good morning, good night, keys are in the drawer. Thanks. Coffee is on the table, okay. Sometimes we passed each other in the hallway. He'd step aside slightly, but never look at me. His eyes were always fixed ahead, like he was searching for something, or avoiding it. Once I carried a glass of water out of the kitchen, and he walked out of the studio. We met in the middle of the hallway. He paused, stepped sideways, his back against the wall. As I walked past, I caught his scent. Not cologne, but faint laundry detergent, like fresh grass after rain. Late that night, I heard the door open, heavy footsteps, then the sound of a bottle rolling, then a dull thump of bone hitting wood. I opened the door and saw him sitting on the floor, leaning against the hallway wall, head buried in his knees. The air smelled of whiskey, strong like an entire bottle had been spilled. He was curled up into a ball, like a cat soaked in the rain. I knelt down.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Go back.
You're drunk.
I know.
I tried to help him up, reaching for his arm. He pushed my hand away.
I said I'm fine.
His palm was hot, his grip strong, like he was using all his strength to refuse. He pushed himself up against the wall, swaying like a tree blown sideways by the wind. I reached out instinctively to stable him, but he had already balanced himself. He walked into the master bedroom and closed the door. It wasn't locked, but I didn't follow. I was his contract bride, not his wife. The contract was clear. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by the sound of him throwing up. It came from the master bathroom, wave after wave, lasting a long time. That sound twisted my stomach. Not ordinary nausea, but his body forcing something out, like he was trying to vomit himself up. I poured a glass of warm water, left it at his door, knocked, then went back to my room. The hallway floor was cold. I walked back barefoot, my toes icy as stone. When I got up this morning, the cup outside his door was empty. But inside the trash can, there was a new addition. An empty wine bottle. It was green, bearing a foreign language label, and traces of a deep amber liquid still cling to its rim. His mother came that weekend. I'll never forget the sunlight that afternoon, pouring through the floor-to-ceiling windows, blinding bright, like melted gold on the floor. Dust particles spun slowly in the light, like tiny planets. I was reading in the living room when the doorbell rang. Wearing an old sweatshirt and sweatpants, my hair tied up loosely, a few strands falling by my face. I opened the door. A woman in a Chanel suit stood there, carrying an Hermes bag, wearing high heels that clicked sharply on the marble floor. Her hair was perfectly styled, not a strand out of place. No wrinkles on her face, but her eyes held a scrutinizing look, like appraising a fake antique. She looked me up and down, her gaze pausing on my old sweatshirt for a short second, then moving to my face.
You're Isabel?
Hello, Mrs. Black.
Don't call me Auntie, call me Mrs. Black.
She walked past me, her heels clicking crisply in the entrance, each step like a nail driven into the floor. She looked around the living room, sofa, chalk table, floor-to-ceiling windows, her gaze critical, as if every corner wasn't clean enough.
Do you know why my son married you?
I do.
Then you know you're just a stand-in. Not his stand-in, the family's stand-in. He needs a wife to meet the inheritance conditions. When your job is done, you can leave.
The contract doesn't specify the job details.
The contract can be amended.
I won't sign it. She stood up, straightened her skirt, and looked down at me. Her shadow fell over me, covering me completely. Her lips were painted deep red, like a fresh cut.
You will sign it, because you have no choice. By the way, was your mother's surgery successful? I hope she recovers soon. The daughter-in-law of the Black family can't be held back by her maternal family.
The sound of her heels echoed in the hallway for a long time, like nails being hammered into the floor one by one. I stood in the living room. The sun was on me, but I felt cold. Cold from the inside out, from my bones. He came back that night. I was waiting for him in the living room in pajamas with a coat over them, sitting on the sofa. The TV was on, but muted, pictures flashing. I wasn't watching anything. Mother came today.
I know.
She asked if we could have dinner together next week.
Ignore her.
We didn't talk about that before.
We didn't?
Will you change it?
No.
He walked into the study and closed the door. I heard the click of the lock, then the sound of a chair being pulled out. The light went out. Only neon light from outside seeped through the blinds, striping the floor like a pool of blood. I sat in the living room until the TV screen turned to static. My body started feeling strange. I gagged when brushing my teeth in the morning. The toothbrush barely touched my tongue, and my stomach churmed, acid rising to my throat. The smell of baking from the coffee shop made me nauseous. It used to be my favorite smell. Now it smelled like rancid oil. Someone ate an egg sandwich on the subway. I had to get off 2 stops early, squat by the trash can on the platform, and dry hoot for a while. I felt so sick. I thought it was just stress. I'd lost 8 pounds in a month, a clear hollow under my collarbone. I couldn't sleep at night, and I still had to visit Mom and in the hospital during the day. The nurse said I looked pale, asked if I hadn't eaten. I said I had, but I hadn't. I walked into a pharmacy on a whim and bought a pregnancy test. The cashier was a young girl with glasses. She glanced at me and said nothing. I stuffed the box into my coat pocket and walked home, my heart racing the whole way. 2 lines. I came out of the bathroom and slid down the wall to the floor. The tile was cold, even through my pajamas. I held the white plastic stick. The 2 red lines were as clear as if carved with a knife. Can't be. He never touched me. The contract was clear. It was his own draft. He crossed out every clause involving physical contact.
Got a business trip. Back in a few days.
He went on a business trip ahead of every so-called intimacy day. I once thought he hated me, or hated women, or hated everyone. But those 2 lines told me someone had touched me. When I didn't know. When I was unconscious. I placed the test on the dining table. White table, white stick, 2 red lines, like 2 silent witnesses. I waited for him to come home. The door lock clicked at 1 a.m. He pushed the door open, saw the light on in the living room, saw me sitting at the table, saw the thing on it.
Is that yours? You're pregnant?
Yes.
Who's the father?
Yours. A long silence. The kitchen clock ticked, like a countdown. The fridge compressor hummed for a while, then stopped. Manhattan was bright outside, but only one dining lamp was on inside, wrapping the 2 of us in its glow.
I never touched you. You know that.
I know. So you tell me, who is the father?
I didn't touch you. But someone else did.
Who?
Nick. My half-brother.
Your brother?
His mother was the one who broke my family apart. After my father died, I removed him from the family. He's been waiting for a chance to get revenge, framing you and laking false rumors to the media. His goal isn't to hurt you. It's to destroy the Black Group's reputation. Black Group chairman's wife caught in a fabricated scheme with his own brother. How much damage would that headline cause?
What are you going to do?
Terminate it.
No.
Why?
Because it's a life. Not your tool.
That's his child. Are you sure you want to keep it?
I don't know whose child it is, but it's in my belly. It's mine.
If you keep it, it will become Nick's tool. He'll use this child to control you, to control me.
So you're just going to let him win? He was silent. For a long time, a plane flew by outside. Its red indicator light blinked in the night sky, like a heartbeat.
I need time.
Nick didn't give me time. He didn't give Sebastian time either. The next morning, my phone was bombarded with messages. Notifications popped up one after another, too many to keep up with. Someone anonymously leaked on social media a Vlach group donchidant prayun with brother's child. No evidence, no photos, only a sources close to the matter, but that was enough. The stock opened down 8%. Financial analysts shook their heads on camera, saying Black Group face a crisis of confidence. Reporters blocked the company entrance, flashes going off non-stop. Security had to put up a barricade. Sebastian didn't go to work. He locked himself in the study and was on the phone all morning. I sat in the living room. Through the closed door, I heard his voice. Low, urgent, occasionally raised like someone bargaining on the edge of a cliff.
I see.
Then silence again. He looked terrible when he came out. The dark circles under his eyes were darker. His shirt was unbuttoned at the neck. His tie was gone. He walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it in one gulp, his atom joint bobbling. He said, setting the glass down, his voice harny.
I found out.
That DNA report, Nick already has it. He's going to release it at tomorrow's press conference.
My fingers turned cold. So cold I could barely hold my water glass. I set the cup down. The base clicked sharply on the marble counter. How did you get this information?
It doesn't matter.
What do you want me to do?
Admit the father's your ex-boyfriend.
Which ex-boyfriend?
Make one up.
Sebastian, I don't want to lie.
You already are. The day you signed the contract, you started lying.
He was right. I lowered my head, my bangs covering my eyes. The soup in the bowl was cold. Oil had congealed on the surface, a thin film, like ice on a winter river.
I've had a statement prepared. You just need to read it.
He pushed a file bracket over. Beige cap paper, sealed with wax, stamped with the Black family crest, a lion and a rose. Opened it. 2 pages, neatly printed in a formal Syrian font. It listed my ex-boyfriend's name, background, timeline of how we met, every detail perfectly fabricated. He was even good at this. I held the 2 pages. The paper was smooth, the ink fresh, still warm from the printer. If I read this, what happens to Nick?
He loses all credibility. An unsubstantiated rumor plus a denial from the person involved, he'll have nothing.
What if he has other evidence? He glanced at me. It was a quick look, but I understood. He was saying we had to gamble. The press conference was held in the main hall of Black Group headquarters. The hall was huge, with marble floors so polished they reflected light. The crystal chandelier overhead looked like a waterfall. Hundreds of media outlets. The red lights on cameras were dense, like a sea of fire. Flashes exploded like an avalanche. No, like a bomb, wave after wave, endless. Sebastian stood on stage, black suit, white shirt, dark blue tie. His expression was calm, like still water. I sat next to him. There was someone else's child in my belly. No, not someone else's, mine. My hands rested on my knees, nailsing into my palms, the pain keeping me awake.
Mrs. Black, are you pregnant?
I looked at the camera. Those black lenses stared at me like countless eyes, dark, without pupils, but able to see through everything. Yes. Who is the father? He took the microphone. His fingers were steady, no tremor in his wrist.
I am.
The room erupted in gasps. Someone inhaled sharply. Keyboards clapped loudly. People stood up from their seats. Flashes became even more intense, like a downpour. But you've only been married 2 months. He took my hand. His fingers were cold, but steady, like cast in steel and concrete.
We've known each other longer. We just didn't go public.
Reporters in the audience bowed their heads and typed, fingers flying over keyboards. News stories were already on their way. No one pressed further. No one questioned. The word of a billionaire was worth more than the truth. After the press conference, we were escorted out by security. The corridor was long. Our footsteps echoed in the empty space. Nick didn't show up. He had no evidence left. His leak was ruled unsubstantiated rumor, his account temporarily suspended. But I knew he wouldn't give up. In the car, he leaned back and closed his eyes. Neon lights outside painted colorful shadows on his face. Red, blue, green, shifting like a silent fireworks show. It was the first time I thought he looked tired, not physically tired, but mentally tired. The kind that couldn't be fixed by a single sleep, rooted in his bones. What are you going to do about Nick?
I gave him a large sum of money. Told him to leave New York.
You bought off your enemy?
Not bought off. Making him understand that destroying me is pointless. He can take the money and start over. Staying here will only lead to mutual destruction.
Don't you hate me?
No,
Why?
because hating you is a waste of time.
Ultrasound examination. The exam room was dim. Only the machine screen was lit. The doctor applied cold, sticky gel to my belly. I flinched. The probe glided over my skin, projecting a gray and white image on the screen. Two tiny shadows curled up, like two broad beans or two babies hugging in their sleep. Their outlines weren't clear yet, but you could see heads, bodies, limbs, like two small moons taking shape. Heartbeats came from the speaker, one fast, one slow, like a duet. The faster one was like a pony running. The slower one was like a drummer beating.
Congratulations, twins.
Sebastian stood next to the ultrasound machine, hands in his pockets. He didn't speak, but I noticed his fingers curled slightly in his pockets, like he was holding something. His Adam's dopin bobbed. The sun was shining brightly as we walked out of the hospital. Manhattan's sun was direct, unfiltered, hitting straight down. People walked on the street. No one looked at us. No one knew there were two heartbeats in my belly.
He suddenly spoke. It's not safe for you to live alone. I'll move next to you.
Aren't you already next door?
With a wall between us, not the same room. That afternoon, he had an old screen brought out of storage. He had it cleaned and moved into the bedroom. He placed the screen in the middle of the room, dividing it into two halves. I slept on the bed. He slept on the sofa.
He tossed and turned the first night. The sofa was too small. His legs couldn't stretch out, knees pressed against the armrest, ankles hanging over the edge. I heard him change positions several times, shoving a cushion under his waist, then taking it out, flipping his pillow over and back. Insomnia?
Yeah, I'll get used to it.
Are you comforting me?
Stating a fact.
A soft chocker came from the dark. Very short, very light, like wind over water, a leaf falling on snow. It was the first time he'd smiled in front of me. Morning sickness got worse that afternoon. Not just in the morning. Anytime, anywhere. I threw up everything I ate, even plain water. Once I tried eating plain conch. I'd barely swallowed 2 spoonfuls when my stomach twisted, and everything came back up. I felt emptied out after throwing up, slumped on the bathroom floor, forehead against the cold tile. He took time off work to stay home. His study computer was always on. I could see the numbers and graphs on the screen through the door. But he poked his head out every 30 minutes to check on me, like a vigilant owl. I knelt by the toilet puking for a long time till my stomach was empty, my throat stinging from the heartburn. His expression was serious, brows furrowed, lips slightly parred, like he was solving a complicated math problem. I don't know what to do either.
I know.
Know what?
I looked it up.
It listed foods and methods to relieve morning sickness. Ginger tea, soda crackers, small frequent meals, wrist pressure points, lemon water, mints, bananas, toast. He pulled a crumpled list out of his pocket, folded twice, edges frayed. The handwriting was neat, like his signature. Every word was written properly. Not even a punctuation mark was sloppy. When did you look this up?
Last night, after you fell asleep.
I stared at him, stunned. This man who couldn't even be bothered to say goodnight to his wife, researching pregnancy recipes on his phone in the middle of the night? This man who slammed his fists on the boardroom table and struck fear into his rivals, squatting on the bathroom floor with a crumpled list? This billionaire who never had to bow to anyone, staring at his phone late at night, copying down methods to relieve morning sickness word by word. That afternoon, he brought me a cup of ginger tea. It was strong. The ginger was cut into thin shreds, thinner than toothpicks. The knife work was too good for a first-time cook. The honey was just right. Not too sweet, not too plain, like it had been measured. His assistant didn't make it. He did. There was a layer of burnt residue on the bottom of the pot, black like a map. Ginger peels, honey wrappers, and a used knife were scattered on the stove. Thank you. He nodded, went back to the study, and closed the door. I held the ginger tea, sat on the sofa, and sipped it slowly. The spiciness of ginger and sweetness of honey mixed on my tongue. Warmth spread from my throat to my stomach. For the first time in a long while, I felt warmth in my body. My belly started to show. At first, just a small bump, like I'd swallow a small bowl. Then it looked like I was carrying a watermelon. Later, I couldn't see my toes when I walked, only my round belly. I went to the supermarket to buy groceries in a loose dress. Corn, tomatoes, eggs, into the shopping cart, pushing it along. A woman recognized me in the fresh produce
Mrs.
section.
Black, you're pregnant.
She wore a designer coat, dyed her hair a trendy pinkish brown, pushing a stroller with a matching designer bag charm hanging from it. She smiled warmly, but her eyes were sizing me up, from my hair to my belly to my shoes. I smiled and nodded. She glanced at my belly, then my face. Twins? Your belly is huge, I didn't explain. The entrance was piled high with delivery boxes when I got home, big and small stacked together, like a small mountain. He was opening packages, a utility knife slicing through tape neatly, opening boxes one by one. Cribs, strollers, baby bottles, diapers, baby monitors, pampers, bathtubs, thermometers, wipe warmers, two of everything. Foam packing peens scattered on the floor, white and crumbly, like a fresh snowfall. The air smelled of cardboard and plastic. When did you buy all this?
Online. I don't know how to pick them. My assistant helped choose.
We might not need them.
We will. I'm going to be a father.
He bent to pick up a box, his face appearing from behind it.
It's not a contractual obligation.
Then why?
Because they're children, not tools.
He carried the box into the nursery. I followed. He set the box on the floor, picked up a baby bottle, held it up to look at it, then put it back. I stood in the doorway watching his back. He squatted on the floor, stacking packs of diapers neatly into the cabinet, movements clumsy but earnest. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling on him, turned his black hair light brown. In that moment, I thought maybe this man wasn't just an iceberg. Maybe beneath the ice, something was melting. That night, he didn't go back to the sofa. He leaned back in the chair by the bed, closed his eyes. His breathing gradually became steady. His brows relaxed, his lips slightly parted. Moonlight fell on his face were long, casting all fan-shaped shadow under his eyes. I watched him for a long time. Then I closed my eyes too. Nick was gone, but the nightmares weren't. In my dream, he stood by my bed, holding a syringe, the needle glinting cold. His face flickered in the dark like a faulty light. He smiled, showing his teeth, blood on them. I tried to scream but couldn't make a sound. My mouth was open, but my throat was stuffed with cotton. I tried to move but couldn't. My arms and legs were nailed to the bed. He was coming closer. The syringe was coming closer. The needle was 1 centimeter from my arm. I screamed awake, covered in cold sweat. My pajamas were soaked, sticking to my back, icy cold. My heart was pounding like it would jump out of my chest. I was breathing fast like I just ran 800 meters. He was sitting by the bed, holding my hand. His hand was warm, large, dry, with thin calluses. From working out or holding a pen, I didn't know. I didn't know when he'd come, or how long he'd been sitting there. A glass of warm water was on the nightstand, still steaming, white mist curling up in the warm lamplight.
Bad dream?
Yeah,
Nick isn't in New York anymore.
I know.
I won't let anyone hurt you.
That sentence was soft, like stating a fact. But when he said anyone, my heart skipped a beat. Not fear. Something else. Like someone tapping on a frozen lake, water stirring beneath the ice. Why are you being nice to me?
Because you're my wife.
Contractual wife.
On paper. But you're a person.
He said you're a person in a flat tone, like saying today is Wednesday or the coffee is cold. But his fingers tightened slightly, his thumb brushing gently over the back of my hand. Moonlight streamed through the window onto the screen. Shadows of flowers and birds fell on the wall, like an ink painting. Plum-flammer shadows swayed gently in the breeze, like real wind was blowing. Neither of us spoke. The day Mom was discharged, I waited for her at the hospital entrance. The sun was warm, like a thin blanket covering me. The ginkgo trees at the door were turning yellow, leaves shaking gently in the wind, a few falling down, spinning. She wore a new sweater, bought by the nurse, sent by me. Light blue wool, with a circle of white patterns on the collar. She was in a wheelchair, pushed out by the caregiver. When she saw me, she smiled, the wrinkles on her face spreading like a flower blooming in the sun. She took my hand and looked at my belly. A mother's eyes were always sharper than anyone else's.
Isabel, you're pregnant?
Yeah. I waited, but she didn't ask if the father was that good man. She just touched my belly and smiled.
Grandma's finally going to be a grandma.
Her palm was warm, pressed against my belly through my clothes. Something moved gently inside me. I couldn't tell if it was the baby or just my imagination. Sebastian didn't come to the hospital, but he sent a driver to pick us up. Mom got into the black Maybach, looked around, touched the leather seat, then pulled her hand back, like she was visiting a museum.
Her husband is very rich.
Yeah.
Is he good to you?
He's okay. She was quiet for a moment. The car drove out of the hospital gate, sunline casting patches of light on the window.
Okay isn't enough.
Her face flashed bright and dark in the light. I didn't answer. E drove over the Manhattan Bridge, the apartment in Brooklyn getting farther away. Seagulls flew over the river outside, white wings shining in the sun. Mom looked out the window and suddenly said,
Your father was rich too, but he wasn't good to you.
I didn't know how to reply. She didn't say anything else either. The car stopped downstairs from the apartment. I helped her out. She stood steady, looked back at the building. It was tall, the top floor glass curtain wall reflecting the blue sky.
Do you live on the top floor?
Yeah.
Is it cold?
No. She nodded and walked slowly into the building. I followed behind, watching her thin back. Her hair was all white, like snow in the sun. I had to attend the Black Group anniversary gala. A designer came to take measurements, a Frenchman with a strong accent. He measured my best, waist, hips, shaking his head as he measured, muttering to himself. Finally, he delivered a dark blue velvet dress, high-waisted to cover my belly. The dress was light, sliding over my skin like water. The neckline was studded with tiny sequins that sparkled under the lights. A makeup artist did my hair, pulled back neatly, exposing my ears and neck. She put pearl earrings on me, 2 small ones, glowing softly under the light. The person in the mirror looked strange, not like a woman who'd signed her life away, but a real lady. He was waiting for me at the entrance of the banquet hall. He wore a new suit, dark gray, with a small white flower in his pocket. "What's wrong?"
Nothing.
His voice was calm, but I noticed the tip of his ear turning slightly red. His hand rested on my lower back. Not too close, not too far, just right. Warmth came through the fabric of my dress. Not cold, not hot, like a glass of warm water. People came to toast. He only drank sparkling water.
She's pregnant.
There was something natural about the way he said those 3 words.
Mrs. Black, how did you two meet?
Introduced by a friend.
I looked down and sipped some juice. Introduced by a friend. Introduced by a contract. The human kept staring at me, her gaze unfriendly. She stood by the champagne tower in the corner, wearing a red dress, lipstick the same color. She looked at me like a knife, cutting me little by little from a veil. I later found out she was Nick's mother, my father's mistress. She didn't come over, didn't speak. But the way she looked at me reminded me of a word: love me, hate my house. During the intermission, I went to the bathroom to touch my makeup. The bathroom was huge, bright lights. I had dark circles under my eyes, not from crying, but from smudged mascara. I wiped it off little by little with a cotton swab and redid it. My hand shook a little, but the lines were straight. I took 3 deep breaths in the mirror and walked out. He was standing in the corridor outside the bathroom, leaning against the wall, hands in his pockets. When he saw me come out, he stood straight, said nothing, just held out his hand. I looked at him and put my hand in his palm. The letter came tucked inside the newspaper. No postmark, no sender. My name was printed on the envelope. He didn't even dare to sign it. White envelope, plain A4 paper, folded 3 times. When I opened it, Sebastian was heating milk in the kitchen. I unfolded the letter. Only a few lines, printed, default font. Dear sister-in-law, you think I'm gone? I'm not. I'm waiting for a better time. When your baby is born, when the media pays attention to the Black family again, then I'll tell the whole world the truth. You signed a contract. You're carrying my child. Guess if Sebastian will still want you then? My fingers started shaking. The paper rustled in my hands. He walked toward me, holding a glass of milk. Upon seeing the contents of the letter in my hand, the cup he held froze in mid-air. Is he back? He put the cup down, took the letter, and read it. His expression didn't change, but I saw his knuckles wide-eye as he held the letter.
I'll protect you.
You can't. He's everywhere.
Then I'll take you somewhere he can't find you.
Where?
Switzerland. I have a house there.
He turned around, picked up his phone, and dialed a number.
Arrange a plane. Tomorrow. Yes, 2 people. No, 3.
He hung up and looked at me.
Pack your things. Only the essentials. We'll buy the rest when we get there.
My hands were still shaking as I packed. I folded my clothes neatly into the suitcase, one by one, as if forcing myself to do something thoughtless. He stood in the doorway, watching me pack.
You don't need to bring that much.
I'm used to being prepared.
I'll prepare everything when we get there.
I stopped and looked up at him. Why are you helping me?
You're my wife.
There it was again. Contractual wife, on-paper wife. But the way he said it was different from before. Before it was like reading a document. Now it was like saying something important. The villa by Lake Geneva was quiet. No reporters, no paparazzi, no Nick. Only snow, only the lake, only us. The villa was wooden, hidden on the mountainside, surrounded pine trees. From the Trondo you could saw the entire Lake Geneva. The lake was frozen, reflecting the gray sky like a huge mirror. Snow was thick on the roof and grass, sinking up to the ankles when you stepped on it. The air was cold but clean. Every breath was like drinking ice water. He walked with me every day, along the lake, slowly, His hands were in his pockets, not holding me, but he stopped to wait for me. When the wind was strong, he stood sideways to block it, his ears red from the cold. The snow was slippery. I wore non-slip boots but still slipped a few times. Every time I tilted, his hand came out of his pocket to hold my arm, then quickly pulled back. Aren't you going to work?
The company has a CEO.
Aren't you worried about Nick?
He's in New York, not Switzerland.
Are you afraid of him?
No, but I'm worried about you.
He didn't look at me when he said worried about you, like he was talking to himself. His gaze fell on the distant lake, where a few people were skating, red coats standing out on the white ice. One day we walked far, to a small wooden bridge. The bridge was old, the planks blackened. The lake under it was frozen, thick ice, with bubbles visible below. White, round, frozen in the ice, like strings of pearls. He suddenly stopped.
I came here when I was little.
With your parents?
With my mother. She loved Switzerland, said it was quiet, no one would bother us.
What happened later?
Later she died, cancer. She came to my mother's funeral clad entirely in red. She is my current stepmother.
His voice was that calm, but I knew it was hidden under ice. You couldn't see it, but it was always flowing. The wind blew, snow falling from the pine trees onto his shoulder. I wanted to say something, but nothing came out. I just reached out and brushed the snow off his shoulder. He looked at me, said nothing, but didn't pull away. My feet swelled. I couldn't fit into any shoes, only wore slippers in the snow. My ankle is severely swollen, the skin stretched tight and shiny. When pressed, it turns slightly red, and it takes ages for the redness to fade. He bought a pair of soft-soled shoes, 2 sizes too big, plush lining, light brown, with a circle of white fur around the top, like Santa's boots. I froze when he took out the shoes. Where did you buy them?
Online.
You picked them yourself?
Yeah.
He placed the shoes on the ground, squatted down, and helped me put them on. His fingers were long and cold. I flinched when they touched my ankle. Cold. He pulled his hand back, rubbed it, then reached out again. Still cold, but not as cold. He held my ankle, slipped the shoe on, tied the laces, slowly, carefully, like my feet were made of porcelain. You don't have to do this.
I said I'd protect you.
You're protecting the baby.
The baby is in your belly. How can I protect the baby without protecting you?
I walked far in those shoes. Snow was still falling, on his hair, his shoulders. Small, fine snowflakes, like salt. His black hair turned grayish-white. He didn't look like a billionaire, just an ordinary man walking with his pregnant wife. When we got back to the villa that day, he made melt wine. The smell of cinnamon and oranges filled the living room, warm, like wrapped in a blanket. The fireplace crackled, logs burning red, occasionally spitting sparks. I sat in front of the fireplace. He sat opposite. The firelight softened his sharp features. There was firelight reflected in his eyes, like 2 small pieces of charcoal. Ultrasound at the Swiss doctor's. The clinic was small, on the 2nd floor of an old building, window facing the lake. The doctor was an old man with white hair, gold-rimmed glasses, English with a German accent. He put the probe on my belly. 2 small shadows appeared on the screen. The 2 shadows wiggled. One curled up, like a baby curled in its sleep. The other stretched its legs, like doing yoga. Their tiny fingers moved, 5 thin digits like starfish tentacles.
Girls, both of them.
He didn't speak, but his hand reached over, covering my belly through my clothes.
Hi, I'm Daddy.
His voice was soft, like talking to a scared kitten.
Hi.
So soft I almost missed it. Something fluttered inside me. Not the baby, but butterflies. Maybe they heard. The doctor stepped out. We were alone, except for the hum of the ultrasound machine. He knelt down and pressed his ear to my belly, listening for a secret. His hair rubbed against my clothes. A few white strands stood out in his black hair. They're calling you.
Calling what?
I don't know, but they're moving. He smiled. Not just a twitch of the mouth. A real smile. His eyes curved like crescent moons. Fine lines appeared at the corners. Cracks in the ice. But cracks didn't always mean broken. I looked at his smile and suddenly my nose tingled. Not from sadness. From happiness. Nick found Switzerland with a fake passport. He stayed at a small hotel in town. The town only had one main street, with a bakery, post office, grocery store, and a red mailbox. The hotel was in a gray stone building. The 2nd floor window faced the street, curtains tightly closed. He sent a text. I'm here. Surprise? I was peeling orange on the living room sofa. My phone lit up. I looked down, and the orange fell from my hand. I showed him the phone. He glanced at it, his face unchanged, but his hand was steady as he picked up his phone. He dialed a number.
Hello? I need to report a crime. Someone entered the country illegally.
His voice was calm, like making a restaurant reservation. He hung up and looked at me.
It's okay.
What will he do?
The police will find him. Deport him.
The Swiss police arrived at the hotel 20 minutes later. I stood at the entrance of the bakery across from the hotel and, through the glass window, caught sight of Nick's face. He smiled when he saw me. That smile was eerie, not one of anger, nor of triumph, but of relief. I seized him. He offered no resistance. He merely glanced back at me, then looked toward Sebastian. His lips moved. He said,
Sorry.
I didn't know who he was saying it to. He was taken away. The baker poked his head out to see the excitement, then went back to kneading dough. Everything went back to quiet, like nothing had happened. On the plane back to New York, Sebastian leaned back and closed his eyes. The cabin lights were dimmed. Only the reading light was on, casting a small glow on his face. His eyelashes were long. He didn't look like an iceberg when he slept. Just an ordinary person who got tired and had nightmares. He woke up when the plane landed and saw me looking at him.
Did I fall asleep?
Yeah.
You were watching me the whole time?
No. Yes. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. New York unflowly in the night outside. Thousands of lights, like an upside-down starry sky.